Christians, you may not realize this, but you're part of a dying religion. Christianity is in decline across much of the Western world, particularly in the US and Europe, where increased access to information and education seems to be the death knell of this harmful cult. But is that all there is to it? Is it just education and information, or are there deeper reasons why people are fleeing the faith in droves? Pastors love to dismiss deconversion with lazy excuses such as they just want to sin or the devil got to them. But the reality? It's far more complicated and honestly much more disturbing. If you're a person of reason, raised with even a semblance of decency, then there are plenty of ways the doctrine, the leaders, the followers, or the history of this so-called faith can be downright repulsive. And the more you actually read the Bible, the more disgusted you may become. So let's break it down. Here are my top 10 reasons why people just aren't walking away from Christianity, they're running away from it. Number 10, they've read the Bible. Many who leave Christianity do so because they took the time to actually read the Bible. They don't even have to read the entire thing to realize how crazy and abusive it can be. The stories they once heard in church take on an entirely different meaning when examined in full without theistic blinders on. From fanciful accounts of eternally punished rib women and talking snakes to tales of divine commands calling for genocide and brutal punishments. Sometimes all it takes is being a good person with an unindoctrinated mind to see the Abrahamic religions for the horrors that they are. That's why they work so hard to indoctrinate you when you're young. If they didn't, their potential flock would outgrow them intellectually before they ever got their meat hooks into them. These issues lead people to question whether the religion they were taught truly aligns with the God they were told to worship. And once they realize Jesus isn't a loving creator, he's just a temporary shield from this God monster they worship, they're out. Number 9. The Sunday service Snoozefest. Attending church services can become an uninspiring routine, to say the least. The repetitive messages, appeals for donations, and lengthy sermons can make people feel like they're being manipulated rather than spiritually enriched. For many, the lack of engaging content and a meaningful connection to the message leads them to seek alternative ways to spend their time. Sometimes church services can be lively, but that's not generally the image that pops into mind when you think of Sunday services. To put it bluntly, it's boring. In our modern world, with everything going every which way so fast, the notion of sitting in a hard wooden pew for 2 hours in your fancy duds and uncomfy shoes fails horribly when compared to chilling at home in your PJs, trolling social media. Number 8, lack of satisfying answers. Christianity offers a framework for understanding life, but for many its explanations fall short. When difficult questions about suffering, morality, and existence are met with answers like, it's all part of God's plan, or you just have to have faith, it can be frustrating. And those are the answers you get to the softball questions. Everyone knows what happens if you continue to ask questions and continue to press them on the horrors or inconsistencies of their texts and their faith. You get shunned or ostracized. Oh, that's crazy, you say. Jesus doesn't tell people to do that. Does he? Well, yeah, yes, he does. Luke 14:26. If anyone comes to me and does not hate his own father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sisters, yes, and even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. For those who seek deeper, more logically sound explanations to their life questions, they quickly realize these divisive, dogmatic religions are not the answers they're looking for. Number 7, scandals and corruption. Christianity's leadership has been plagued by numerous scandals, from financial exploitation to the endless sea of cases of child sexual assault. The church's ability and desire to continue to shuffle harmful priests and pastors around from one place to another to hide their crimes exposes the fact that these institutions are rotten to the core, and they deserve to be sued out of existence. Many former believers see these issues as symptoms of a system that prioritizes power and control over genuine faith, morality, and concern for their own followers. Number 6, the appeal of alternative perspectives. As people gain exposure to different cultures, philosophies, and worldviews, they often find alternatives that resonate more with their values. Science, secular humanism, and other belief systems provide explanations that many find more consistent and intellectually satisfying. This exposure leads some to reevaluate their religious upbringings and ultimately leave Christianity behind. But there's something else about this appeal of alternative perspectives. It might sound innocent, but the desire to find answers outside the mainstream of Christianity has been responsible for the deaths of millions of believers under the cry of heretic or heresy. Nowadays, this otherism or us versus them mentality that Christianity fosters is no longer welcome, or at least it's a tougher sell than it used to be. Number 5, the internet and accessibility of information. As mentioned in the opening of the show, the rise of the internet has allowed people to explore religious critiques and access historical and scientific research that was once difficult, if not impossible, to obtain. With just a few searches, contradictions in religious texts, historical inaccuracies, and alternative perspectives become readily available. The more information you're exposed to, the less likely you are to fall for the velvety lies spewed by these God-men wannabes. For many, this newfound information weakens their belief and leads them to reconsider their faith. And with modern societies removing some of the traditional family pressures to conform, we see even more people leaving these religions behind. Number 4, the Doctrine of Hell. The concept of eternal punishment for finite actions is a major stumbling block for many people. The idea that a peaceful, loving God would create a place of endless suffering for non-believers feels fundamentally unjust. But almost all schools of Christian thought believe everyone else, hell, even all the other Christians, are doing it wrong, and they're all going to hell. That's right, essentially, everyone's going to hell. That's quite an eye-opener once you noodle it out. Which brand of Christianity is the right one? You don't know. Are you special enough that you found the right brand of Christianity to save you from the fiery pits of this evil God monster? As people examine this doctrine, they begin to question the moral framework of Christianity itself, again, leading them to move away from the religion. Number 3, financial exploitation. Many churches place a heavy emphasis on financial contributions, with some demanding tithes as requirements for blessings or salvation. The wealth accumulated by megachurches and televangelists often raises concerns about the true motivation behind these religious institutions. For those who see faith as being used for profit rather than spiritual guidance, leaving the church becomes a logical step. Have you ever sat in a pew pulling out the last few dollars from your wallet, about to drop your money into the offering plate because the wealthy pastor in a fancy suit with gold rings who drove up in his $100,000 Range Rover told you that God will multiply whatever you give as an offering and return it to you? Did you fall for that one? The seed offering? The sheep grow weary of being fleeced. Number 2, contradictions in morality. Christianity promotes messages of love and acceptance, but its history and modern interpretations often contradict these ideals. Discriminatory teachings against certain groups like gay or trans people, selective adherence to biblical laws, and shifting moral stances create confusion and disillusionment. Despite these religions being touted as organizations that strive for peace and love, they more often foster division and hate. The unending wars in the Middle East attest to these contradictions of morality. The followers of the religion of peace and the religion of love have been unaliving each other in the name of hate for hundreds and hundreds of years. Many who value consistency in ethics find themselves unable to reconcile these contradictions and eventually walk away from the faith altogether. Before we get to number 1, did you know that I host the Daily Atheist Morning Show right here on YouTube? It's a lot more lighthearted and fun than my long-form videos. It did it. Okay, awesome. So just got out of the shower, just wearing a smile. You naughty Simply Secular Dave. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. Put some clothes on, man. Simply Secular Dave's over. You ever seen a grown man naked? You know, Giles says, put a sock on. That's good one. Good morning, Scott Duke. Thank you for joining us. I hope, people are begging for goat. The goats, I see goats. People want goats. And you're going to get some goats.
Have you sinned again? Oh, and it's bad this time. A chicken just won't do. But wait, you don't have a goat for your burnt offering. Oh no, the Lord's wrath is upon you.
Insignificant person whose name I don't know, you have sinned. Probably. I shall smite thee.
What do? You're all out of goats. She left you for another man.
Fear not, my wayward child. Introducing Father Flanagan's line of goat-scented flesh candles.
No goat? No problem. Just light one of these bad boys and let the sweet, savory scent of burning goat flesh rise up to the heavens.
Is that goat?
It's easy, it's fast, and deluxe models even have patented technology that produces a goat screaming sound as the wick burns.
Father Flanagan's line of goat-scented candles. Save a goat, burn a candle.
Father Flanagan's line of goat-scented flesh candles are part of our You Do You Jew interfaith outreach program.
When you sin and need to atone, light a candle and avoid the stone. When the Lord requires that pungent smell, light a candle or you're going to hell.
Live, Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. Eastern. Now, on with the show. Number 1, unanswered prayers. Many believers are taught that prayers lead to divine intervention, but over time, the lack of any noticeable response understandably leads to doubt. If prayers for guidance, healing, or justice go unanswered despite sincere belief, individuals begin questioning whether there's anyone listening at all. And when you consider the depths to which God must go through to ignore the tear-filled prayers of victims all over the world throughout history so he can respect the free will of their attackers, you realize the disgusting depths of this hate-based faith system. For some, this realization is the final step in their departure from Christianity. Christianity appears to be growing in areas with less access to education and information, such as parts of Africa, rural Asia, and Latin America. So, access to education and information may indeed be key. This may also explain the efforts by certain Christian groups to influence education systems in places like the United States, where secularism is on the rise. If you can keep them dumb, you may be able to sell them your snake oil. Ultimately, people leave Christianity for a variety of reasons, whether due to contradictions, scandals, moral concerns, or simply a lack of evidence supporting its claims. If any of these reasons resonate with you, then you're not alone. The trend of deconversion continues as more people critically examine the faith they were raised in and seek out beliefs that align with reason and evidence. Christians, Jesus did not die for your sins. Click over here to see my top 10 video on why Jesus was not sacrificed for your sins. Click here to see my video on the top 10 reasons religion is a scam and always has been. Sin safely, my friends. Take care.